Are you moving to the Portland metro area and looking for fun, exciting places to live? Well, these suburbs are areas that you might want to stay away from. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And if this is your first time to the channel and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. We've helped so many people relocate to Oregon and move to the Portland metro area. As real estate professionals, we love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click that link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to the Portland area. All right, so let's talk about it. So what are some of the most boring suburbs, the most boring areas to live in the Portland metro area? Well, I'll start off by saying that obviously this is a very subjective category. So what might be boring to one person won't be boring to another, and down the line. So I think when we look at what you would classically define boring as is just opportunities for things to do, right? But when you look at it in the context of where you live, you look at things like walkability, you look at things like, activities you can get out and do easily and access to those types of activities, whether that be hitting the town, great restaurants, bars, nightlife, to outdoor activities, walking trails, parks. Obviously people have different hobbies and different things they like to do in their day-to-day. So these are going to be areas that are going to be boring, I think by a lot of measures, but on different ends of the spectrum potentially. And we've distilled it down to 5. So the first place on the list that we're going to talk about is Happy Valley. Happy Valley is a pretty big suburb on the east side of the Portland metro area. It's in Clackamas County, and it's the newest suburb in the Portland metro area. So Happy Valley, I believe, was incorporated around 2005, somewhere around 10 or 15 years ago. This area was formerly known as Clackamas. And when you look at Happy Valley on a map, you'll see Clackamas right there too, but pretty much anywhere that is considered to be Clackamas is going to be Happy Valley. That can create some confusion when you're looking at a map. So Clackamas is really just kind of a small little speck on the map. If anything, at this point, Happy Valley is this big, enormous new suburb. There are a lot of redeeming qualities about Happy Valley. It is newly developed and has a really nice shine to it. So anywhere that's been developed more recently, usually newer developments are going to have more amenities, so more walking trails, more parks, more green spaces, things like that, which Happy Valley certainly does. And I think Happy Valley is regarded as one of the best places to live in the Portland metro area by many measures. So low on crime, relatively safe, quiet, laid back place with good schools, and a lot of really nice big homes. So this is an area that a lot of people flock to, but what are you going to be doing in your day-to-day? Well, when you look at Happy Valley, there's not going to be much that's offered in town, right? So there are some great food carts in Happy Valley. This is a newer development in the last few years. A lot of people like to get out and hit the food carts. There are some local restaurants, a couple of local shops and things like that, but really when you look at Happy Valley, this is classic suburbia to the max. So strip malls, shopping malls, national chains, fast food, national restaurant chains, things like that, big box stores, etc. So depending on what type of lifestyle you're looking for, and if you want to be in an area that is a little more bustling, if you don't really see yourself in a true suburban area, living that suburban lifestyle, Happy Valley might be an area to avoid. All right, next on the list, we're gonna talk about Tigard. So I think a lot of people would tell you that Tigard is a little bit of a boring place to live. Now, again, like any suburb, and a lot of what we'll talk about on this list, this is a suburban area, right? So this is really catered to families. These are housing developments, and then a lot of strip malls, big box chains, national chains, things like that. A lot of suburbs in the Portland metro area do have more of a localized community feel with a little downtown area, and it has a little more character to it and more things to do. Tigard is not really one of them. Tigard does have a little downtown area right on Highway 99, so just about smack in the middle of Tigard is downtown Tigard, which is experiencing a little bit of rejuvenation. If you drive through that area right now, you see some construction and some infrastructure building where it looks like they're kind of building this area out to support more growth, which is great. I think Tigard is great by many measures. It's a lot closer to downtown than some suburbs, namely Happy Valley. Happy Valley is about as far east as you can get in the Portland metro area. The north side of Tigard borders Southwest Portland and then Beaverton. And Beaverton, of course, is really an extension of Portland on the west side. So in Tigard, you have some relatively good access to the city and getting into Portland. I think a lot of people do enjoy that. A lot of people at least want to have the opportunity or the option to get into Portland for events or to go see friends, to go hit the town, whatever it may be. So Tigard does offer that opportunity. But when you look at Tigard itself, Highway 99 runs right through the middle. Along Highway 99 is really all commercial areas or commercial development. So you have grocery stores and a couple movie theaters, bowling alley, things like that. Again, that downtown Tigard area. But it's really not an exciting, bustling place with a lot of things to do. There's Cook Park, which is a great big park, one of the nicer parks really in the Portland metro area, right on the Tualatin River. A lot of neighborhoods do have little parks that you can get to. There are sidewalks and walking trails and things like that, but you also have Washington Square Mall on the north side of Tigard. You have Bridgeport Village kind of on that south side of Tigard, southeast side of Tigard. So there is some great shopping as well if you like to get out and shop, if that's something you see yourself doing a lot in your day-to-day, or even, on the weekend going to hit the mall. There are opportunities for that in Tigard, but overall, there's just not going to be a ton to do in this area. All right, next on the list, let's talk about Aloha. So yes, it is pronounced Aloha, not Aloha, although it is spelled Aloha, A-L-O-H-A. Aloha is an area that's actually a unincorporated area of Washington County. I think most people would consider Aloha to be Beaverton. It's kind of southwest Beaverton. And it's right in between Beaverton and Hillsborough, again, on the south side of these areas. So Aloha is an area that really lacks a lot of character. And you'll find that as a consistent theme. And so when you look at Aloha on a map, you're going to see some major thoroughfares running east-west through here, most notably TV Highway, Tualatin Valley Highway, and Farmington. So this is Highway 10 and Highway 8 that kind of connect Beaverton to Hillsborough and to some more rural areas out west. A lot of those areas out there, there's beautiful farm country. It's a great place to go drive around. There's also some wineries out that way, so you can get some access to wine country. But in Aloha, you're really on a grid, so it has more of an urban feel. The housing developments are smaller. Again, it's more laid out on a grid, so you're not getting as many like cul-de-sacs and as high volume of parks. And there are a decent amount of parks in Aloha, but they're a lot smaller than some other suburbs in the Portland metro area, where a lot of parks in the Portland metro area, in the suburbs, and in the city as well, are really big, and they have walking trails, and there might be a body of water there, and you're not going to get that in Aloha. You're going to see a lot of parks that are about the size of a city block, that maybe have a playground, maybe a couple basketball hoops, things like that. And so in Aloha, again, you're looking at a lot more commercial development. You're looking at being laid out more on a grid, so there's less character there. And I think in a lot of ways, Aloha is kind of considered to be no man's land. So, again, you're partly Beaverton, you're partly Hillsborough. This area is serviced by different utility districts and fire districts and things like that from the surrounding suburbs. So, it does have all kind of the support as far as, the infrastructure, things that you would need to, support living there. One thing I would say about Aloha, though, is it has this sneaky area on the south side. So South Aloha into Cooper Mountain. one of the most beautiful areas and neighborhoods in all of the Portland metro area, and really flies under the radar. I think a lot of people might drive around Aloha and shop around there as they're kind of researching neighborhoods and suburbs that they might want to live in. Some people might write off Aloha because of some things that they see, again, in particular near those major highways. But when you get into South Aloha, you get up into Cooper Mountain, and it's really hilly, it's wooded, there's windy streets, there's a lot more privacy, and there's some more luxury real estate up in that area as well. So this is an area that I think on one hand you could consider again, one of the more hidden gem type neighborhoods in the Portland metro area, and it is connected to Aloha, but it has a completely different makeup and aesthetic than what you would consider most of Aloha to be. Now, Aloha is close to some of the best golf courses in the Portland metro area. You have the Reserve and then some other courses out closer to Hillsboro. If you get up over Cooper Mountain, if you go south and get into Cooper Mountain and continue going south and west a little bit, you're really in wine country, and that could be 10, maybe 15 minutes away to a dozen or more great wineries, tasting rooms, things like that. So you're also a little further out west, so you can get out to the Oregon coast and closer to about an hour and 15 minutes. So there's definitely some redeeming qualities about Aloha. The accessibility is really not that bad. Again, you have some major highways and thoroughfares running through, so you can easily get up to Highway 26 and get into Portland. You can get into Beaverton easily. You can get into Hillsboro easily. Intel has a campus in Aloha. So I think a lot of people end up moving to Aloha because you do end up seeing housing prices a little bit less than some of the surrounding suburbs, probably with the exception of that South Aloha Cooper Mountain area. So there are some trade-offs for sure, but in the immediate area in Aloha, not a ton to do. All right, the next on the list, let's talk about Milwaukie. So Milwaukie is an area that does get on people's radar pretty quickly because it is so close to Southeast Portland, and a lot of people moving to the Portland metro area do want to be close enough into Portland to where they can get into the city and enjoy some of those great restaurants and breweries and all the things there are to do in Portland proper. And Southeast Portland has a ton, half a dozen or more really popular neighborhoods for people to get out, spend an afternoon, go walk around. And a lot of people like living in that area too. So Milwaukie is just south of Southeast Portland. And again, that's probably why it pops up on a lot of people's radar. Home prices are going to be a little bit less than Portland proper in Milwaukie. But Milwaukie itself isn't an area that offers a ton to do. You have things like the Springwater Corridor. You do have some parks, some neighborhood parks, kind of like Aloha in a way. And it does remind me of Aloha in a lot of ways, in that a lot of Milwaukie is laid out just kind of on a grid, in particular the northern side. So not a ton of character, a lot of really old homes, older neighborhood or older suburb, doesn't have like a lot of sidewalks, for example. But there are some really nice areas of Milwaukie. When you get out 224 a little bit, there's an area around like Thiessen Road that is actually unincorporated, but it's a Milwaukie address. And then, similar on the south side of Milwaukie along the river, you have like Oak Grove along River Road. There's some really nice neighborhoods in here, and there's some nice neighborhoods all around Milwaukie, just like anywhere else in these suburbs on this list that we're talking about. But again, Milwaukie itself really doesn't offer a ton to do in town. So there is a cool old historic downtown in Milwaukie, which I think we'll probably see continue to grow and revitalize over the years. There's a little bowling alley there, a pizza place. There are a couple of restaurants there, and you're right on the river. So if you're downtown Milwaukie, you can get to the river just across the street, which is Highway 99 there, kind of that main street. And there's walking trails along the river, and it's really beautiful. If you have a boat, there's river access there. There's a boat launch. So again, there are going to be some things to do depending on what you like to get out and do on your day-to-day. But in an area like Milwaukie, even if just taking the dog, taking the kids out for a walk, going, through some green spaces and parks, walking trails, you're not going to find a lot of that in Milwaukie, let alone, the entertainment stuff, the things to get out and do, like great restaurants and bars and things like that. All right, last on this list is Tualatin. And Tualatin is a lot like Happy Valley in that it is a very suburban area. So most of Tualatin is residential housing development that's taken place over the last 25, 30 years for the most part. Happy Valley is going to skew a little bit newer. Tualatin is a lot like Sherwood and Wilsonville, which are neighboring Tualatin, but just a little bit older, a little bit further along in its development, whereas Tualatin really started to boom and develop kind of in the 80s and 90s. Through the 2000s, Wilsonville and Sherwood, a lot of the boom you saw maybe kind of mid to late 90s into the 2000s up till today. So in Tualatin, you're really just not gonna find a ton to do. There is kind of a town square, town center area, which is right on I-5. This is this Martinazzi Plaza commercial area that does have some restaurants, has a lot of like fast food and national chains, just like a lot of these other suburbs that we're talking about. There is a Cabela's there, so if you like outdoor sports, hunting, fishing, things like that, Cabela's is right there. I think that is actually an attraction that brings a lot of people into Tualatin. Bridgeport Village is just on the north side of Tualatin as well, so if you like to get out and go shopping, Bridgeport Village is a really attractive area, I think, for a lot of people. But again, when you look at Tualatin itself and you drive around, you're just driving through neighborhoods, and really the most there is to do in Tualatin is just to get out and walk around. Now, it's a beautiful area, a lot like all of these other suburbs that we're talking about. It's wooded, it's hilly, there are greenways and green spaces and walking trails, walking paths, things like that. There is a lot to do, and I think Tualatin does have a lot of really great parks. When you look at like the Browns Ferry Park, there's the Atfalati Park, there is the Tualatin Community Park. Some of these are on the Tualatin River, which is a popular area to get out and go kayaking, do some paddle boarding and things like that. There's a skate park in Tualatin. I grew up going there every weekend when I was a kid. So if you're looking for an area that's a little more quieter and laid back, that offers just a lot of opportunity to get out and walk around, Tualatin definitely has that, but again, not nearly as much commercial development with a ton of great local restaurants and bars and shops and things like that to get out and to go and check out. I think Tualatin does have a really strong community feel. It's a pretty dense area, so very homogeneous, dense suburban area that is pretty small as far as its landmass. I think it's about 8 square miles overall, so I think a lot of people in Tualatin do enjoy the community aspect of it. You probably won't get that as much in a Milwaukie, in a Tigard, in an Aloha, maybe a little bit in a Happy Valley, but Happy Valley is much larger than any of the other suburbs on this list that we're talking about as far as the landmass. So Happy Valley is going to be a little more spread out, where the community aspect of the area is going to be more tied to your immediate neighborhood. Whereas in Tualatin, I think there is a little bit more of a tight-knit community feel, which is great, and I think a lot of people enjoy. But if you want an area that's more bustling, that has more things to get out and do in your immediate area, Tualatin's not really going to offer that. You'll probably have to get up into Beaverton, up into Portland, or over into like Lake Oswego to get more activity and more things to do in your day-to-day. All right, a couple of honorable mentions here. This is really a tough list to make because there is so much subjectivity baked into this as far as the criteria we're using, but Wilsonville and Sherwood are two areas that I think you could compare to Tualatin quite a bit, both where they are within the Portland metro area, kind of that southwest area, and also the size, but also the recent development. They have very similar feel to Tualatin, being Wilsonville and Sherwood, but in Wilsonville and in Sherwood, you're so much further away from the city center and from some of the larger suburbs like Beaverton, for example, that I think anybody who's looking to move to or ends up moving to Wilsonville and Sherwood probably know that. They probably understand that. They're probably not looking for an area that is really busy and bustling and more exciting. So, these are very true suburban areas as well, as far as what you would envision when you think of a suburb. And I think depending on, again, what people are looking for and what people want to do in their day-to-day life, they could consider these areas to be a little more boring. On one hand, I think some people would consider them just to be a little more laid back and quiet, which I think some people also prefer. So it just depends on the person, right? But these areas that we listed on this list tend to be areas that a lot of people ask about because I think they are close enough to neighboring areas that are a little more popular or areas that are on people's radar a little sooner, like the east side of Portland, like Beaverton, for example, like a Lake Oswego or a West Lynn. So when you look at these suburbs that we've talked about, they're really just going to lack a lot of the things in terms of day-to-day activities, entertainment, etc., that you would find in particular in a more suburban area like in Portland. So some of these areas are a little closer to Portland and a little closer to the city center, so the trade-off doesn't matter as much. But all of these areas do lack kind of their own little city center or downtown area for the most part, at least, you know, when you look at Tigard, when you look at Milwaukie, there are these little downtown areas that have the potential to kind of grow and become a little more exciting, but as of today, you know, really not quite there. So that's why these areas have ended up on the list of the most boring suburbs in the Portland metro area. And if you want to learn more about these areas or other areas that maybe have a little more going on, make sure to give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. We can talk about your timeline and your budget. We can talk about areas that would fit you and suit your lifestyle best and put together a home search and a game plan for you so you can hit the ground running when the time comes. And if this video is helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.